Nick.
Steve.
Today we're talking about needles.
We are. Lots of needles.
We're talking about lungs and livers and metal and earth and fire and spleens. What are we talking about today?
All about acupuncture today.
Oh, love it. Acupuncture.
I know. All about acupuncture. We've got a lot of evidence, scientific evidence to show the benefits of it. So it's an interesting talk, a little bit different than what we usually do. So, yeah, have a listen and it's kind of cool.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your hosts, Nicole and Steve. And today we're talking about something that we're not qualified in. Normally,
No, we're not.
we talk about foods and herbs and minerals and that. We are not qualified in this profession. What is this profession we're talking about today?
Well, we're talking about traditional Chinese medicine.
Yes.
And then sort of an element of that, which is acupuncture.
I know.
And neither of us are Chinese medicine practitioners.
Nope.
Or acupuncturists.
That's right.
So
You know what I feel like today? I feel like one of those influencers on Instagram that my wife listens to.
Yeah.
And she'll go, oh, this person said that, I don't know, wormwood gives you cancer or something random like that. And I'm going, where did they get in from? Oh, I don't know. They just said it. What do you think? And it's like, why don't you ask them?
Yeah, exactly.
Hold them to account. Like when we say stuff, we've got, like, for those who are just listening, like papers galore, scientific studies. But you know, you're always finding you're putting out spot fires of people that say things that are unqualified.
Yeah.
Now we're unqualified in this, but I've got papers to support what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one for us today.
It is.
And I've got some, I learned a lot doing this.
Yeah, so I learned a bit too.
Well, you got me to
You
print
looked
out-
at more papers than I did.
But these are all just clinical trials on this, so it's pretty straightforward. But what I found about my first foray into acupuncture, I did a master's in health science, and in 2002 when I was doing it, we had an assignment for research methods, which was research topic that you're not familiar with, that you have to then be able to support or give evidence for it. And so I went, well, I don't know much about acupuncture, but I know there's some evidence out there. And in 2002, I did a major paper on, you know, what acupuncture is good for. And to my shock, I didn't know there were so many studies on acupuncture.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot.
clinical trials. And there's people out there who studied TCM and go, God, you idiot. But I didn't know.
No.
And so from that day in 2002 when I submitted that, I got an A for that assignment.
Oh, of course you did, Steve.
No, because, well, you can get A's for everything. But that one, because it was all about research, and I love research methods and explaining about the different trials that are done and all that sort of stuff. So today I played it with a straight bat, and I've got a whole lot of studies here on what it does and what it's good for and all that. So we'll get to that in the course of the podcast. But I want to start off with the history. Because, Nick, it's a little bit of history with acupuncture, isn't there?
This is just a little bit of history. Yeah, it started not a little while ago.
A little while ago.
Yeah.
About 5,000 years ago.
Yeah. So the origins of acupuncture. So sort of circa 2,500 BC to 200 CE. Yeah. So the earliest evidence of acupuncture-like practices come from Neolithic China, where sharp stones and bones were used for medical treatments. How cool is that?
I just stop there a second. Imagine that. You're going, what do you think will help? I don't know, but if I stick something sharp somewhere.
Give it a crack.
Someone must have sort of discovered that by... How do you discover this stuff?
I don't know. I mean, look, the Chinese are amazing with their medicine. They are. Chinese medicine is amazing. So
yeah, this predates a lot of herbal medicine. It predates a lot of sort of, when I say nutrition, I mean that everyone ate before then, but it predated medicine by a million years. So the fact that you had to come up with innovative ways to get better and pricking yourself with something sharp. I mean, you know what it could have started with? You know how when you've got a sore something and you poke your thumb into it and it feels better?
Yeah.
I wonder if they thought, well, that's good, but what I really want, I want something sharp, and you poke it with something sharp and it gets better. I don't know. You know, I know this.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because that's why I always wonder where do these things actually begin? Like, who's the first person to go, you know what, I'm going to try sticking in something sharp into parts of the body and see what happens.
And they used sharp stones and bones in the early days.
Sharp stones and bones. So oracle bones from the Shang dynasty, which was 1600 to 1046 BC, suggest early reference to acupuncture-like techniques.
Yep.
And then in 1046 to 256 BC, the Zhou dynasty transition to bronze needles to improve their precision and effectiveness.
I suppose, that works. Yeah, sure.
And then we move along a little bit, and the Huangdi Neijing, which is the Yellow Emperor's classic of medicine, circa 200 BC. So they founded one of the traditional texts of Chinese medicine, which describes meridians, and we're going to talk about what meridians are, and qi, which is vital energy, and acupuncture points. And then that then led on to the introduction of concepts like the yin-yang balance. We all have heard about yin and yang, 5 elements, which we'll talk about, and the 12 main meridians that guide acupuncture treatment. It's
incredible. And if you're sitting here listening to this going, this acupuncture is full of shit.
Pseudoscience. There'll be people down, I guarantee down below, pseudoscience, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, everyone can have an opinion and everyone can believe what they want to believe. But I like to expand my mind and my knowledge and look further than what we see in front of us. And I think that a lot of people have a very narrow-minded view, is that they've told something or the science says one thing, so that's it. There is no other. There's always more, you know. I mean, look at all the things that, you know, back in the day, if someone said, you know, we'll be video calling someone on the other side of the world, or we've got the internet that runs, you know, you can put something in and within a split second you can have this, you know, information, or people would look at you and laugh and go, you're crazy. Look at the flat earthers, which there are still a few flat earthers out there. You know, what happens if we all just believe that and then, you know what I mean? Like there's always something more.
So you're absolutely right. So with TCM, I thought that it probably works in some cases and blah, blah, blah. But what we're going to talk about in about half an hour is the studies on it. Medical peer-reviewed studies, loads and loads and loads, published in the medical journals. Now, you can still doubt this stuff. That's fine, because the science never settled.
It's never settled,
But it's quite remarkable. And, you know, so you're talking about these things like qi and yin-yang and 5 elements and all these meridians. It sounds a bit hoo-hoo-ah, but I mean, there's a lot to it, because using that philosophy, it seems to help people.
It does seem to help people. So I thought what first thing we would do is explain meridians. So then you can get a bit of a concept of what kind of acupuncture is based on and what it's actually trying to do. So meridians are the energy highways of the traditional Chinese medicine, Steve. So
so they're highways. They go energy down them. Now, I'm going to be the scientist, the nerd, the left brain, the logic, the thing, energy pathway. So if I do surgery on you, I can't find meridians.
No, you can't see them. So
I can't see them.
Exist.
So they don't exist, which is a terrible thing to say, because there's lots of things we can't see that we know exist.
That's right.
The things in the universe that we're explaining is dark energy and dark matter. We can't see either.
Oh, we start going into quantum physics. Then it's a whole other thing.
We can't see quantum.
But, you know, you can't see the internet. You can't see electricity. There's a lot of things we can't see that we know exist.
I've got Wi-Fi. Yeah. So we can measure the effects.
Yes.
And that's what you can measure, the effects of dark matter, dark energy, and you can measure the effects of meridian. I've got a paper on it.
Yes.
Nick, you won't believe this. This is one of the 2 surprising
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
papers.
You said you were going to surprise me
I'm going to surprise you. Okay, so meridians are energy channels in the body, and if you've seen a chart of the naked guy with these points all over him, you know, if you've seen all those, that's all the lines and all these points all over it.
Yeah.
What they found was that on the meridians, they did what they said, okay, is there an energy channel? Okay, if energy can flow there, electrons can flow there. That's the smallest thing we know in the universe, electrons. Okay, so you can measure the resistance. You can measure that with a multimeter, say, a very sensitive one.
Yeah.
They measured the multimeter and they found differences in the electrical conductation between meridians and non-meridians. And it's a paper published in the American Journal of Chinese Medicine, and it's called, wait for the title of this one, Differences in the Electrical Conduction Properties Between Meridians and Non-Meridians.
Wow.
So what they found was that they measured 2 points on different, like say the gallbladder meridian, which is just a meridian.
We'll explain a little bit of
and there's way less resistance. You move it just 1 centimeter and there's way more resistance.
Yeah.
So there's something there that's measurable.
Yes.
You can't see it.
That's right.
You can't pick it up.
Yeah.
You can't, but you can measure it.
Yes.
And there's lots of things we can measure that we can't see.
100% there is. 100%
Well, look at electrons, for example. We know they're there.
Well, that's right. Exactly.
So isn't that interesting?
That's really interesting, yeah.
So there's something Yeah. What is it?
I'm looking for my paper.
Is it got to do with all the elements and that? Don't know yet, but that's interesting.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm just trying to find a paper that I. Oh,
Oh, yes, you've got a paper on it. Yeah,
I do. So, so meridians. So they're invisible channels.
They are invisible.
Through which chi, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard of chi, which is our energy, and blood circulate. So they connect to the organs, tissues, and nervous system, and they influence the physical, the mental, and our emotional health. So they kind of run. That they definitely had pathways they run through the body.
Yep.
And there are 12 main meridians. So they're each linked to a specific organ in the body.
Yep.
And they follow the body's circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
So really interesting. So for instance, I won't go through them all, but say the lung meridian.
Yep.
So that's function is respiration, immunity, and grief processing. And I know this is, again, people are going to go, oh, pseudoscience.
Yeah, pseudoscience, yeah.
Roll your eyes, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I've been in clinic long enough to see sort of correlations with different things. And I see, when we're seeing a client, we just don't work on the physical. We work on, okay, what emotional things have happened in your life, all this sort of thing, because where did this start? When did you say, well, I felt better until, I've never been right since. So things like grief. So a lot of people that will come to clinic have lung issues and breathing issues.
Yeah.
And then you work back and they've gone through a big trauma or had a significant grief. So that's kind of the connection there. And then, things like the stomach, so digestion, metabolism, all that sort of thing. Heart is circulation, small intestines, all that sort of thing. So they all have their own little connection to each organ. So we have 12 of those. And then we have the chi. So chi is the flow of the energy through the system. So that works in a 24-hour cycle, so circadian rhythm. And that works at each meridian sort of reaching peak activity for 2 hours a day. And I often ask, this is something that I ask a lot. So if somebody can't sleep and I say, so what time are you waking up in the middle at night?
Yeah.
Is it always the same time every night or is it different times? And a lot of times it'll be, for instance, say, sort of from either 2 or 3 o'clock. It's every morning, 2 or 3 o'clock. I don't know. I just wide awake. So that's connected to that liver in the Chinese medicine clock. We have, each.
Yes, there is a time.
Yeah, so each organ is connected to a time, which is sort of what these meridians are all about. So liver is sort of between 1 and 3. That's when your liver goes through its detoxification and all of that sort of thing. So if you're waking at that time every morning, then we look at liver health and that sort of thing. So,
and the anger is the liver emotion.
Well, that what they say. Can I swear in the podcast? Shit on the liver.
Yes.
You ever heard of that saying?
Yeah, I have.
So people get really angry. That's because their liver is the seat of the anger. So people who have liver issues can get quite angry and explosive.
Have you ever heard the saying, "I'm livid about this"?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
That's where it comes from.
That's where it comes from. So
it's really. I mean, that's. When I was learning all this, because I did shiatsu, so I've done a little bit of Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, God, if there's it was bugger all, and I've forgotten most of it. It was in 1995 when I did shiatsu massage, which is finger pressure massage on meridians, which is like, and it was one of the most fun evenings because you would basically do a bit of theory at the start, and you do half an hour treatments on your partner, whoever your partner was, and I used to love getting it because it just made you feel better.
It's amazing, and it's a bit like reflexology, iridology, that sort of thing. So in reflexology, different parts of the foot correlate to different parts of the body, and the same with iridology. Different parts of the iris correlate to different parts of the body. So, you can take it on a really deep level, and we talk about quantum physics and things that can relate to the body, and it's really interesting. So people that, just aren't open to this sort of stuff, they're missing out on this, just like fascinating. It's fascinating to look at.
I had a big learning curve in the 90s when I came out of, because my first degree was physics and chemistry. So, it was very black and white.
Yeah.
And then I started studying this thing, and the first thing I thought about, well, this is a load of shit.
Yeah.
Iridology, load of shit. Homeopathy, load of shit.
Yes.
And God, I learned quickly that it wasn't.
Oh, yeah. When you put it into practice and, years and years of doing it, and you see time and time again the correlations. You can look, and people used to think that I was psychic because I'd look into their eyes and tell them, ask them questions about their health, and it was always pretty spot on.
Yeah.
And it's because you're reading reading the iridology. So, and that correlates to different parts. So I've seen it happen enough and done it enough to see correlations with these things. And even, with people when they're waking up at certain times, and then we look at liver function and it's very poor. it correlates a lot of the time. So, anecdotally, I see it all the time. So you can't, we've talked about that before, you can't sort of dismiss that as being irrelevant. And the thing that makes me frustrated is you get the scientists coming out saying, oh, it's all a bunch of hoo-hoo-hoo. No. But do they ever see this? Do they ever get into clinic? Do they ever work in that areas to see anecdotal evidence? So that's what I makes me frustrated. People just can't expand their mind enough to see past. And I think some of it, and I could be wrong, people's beliefs, if you challenge their beliefs, then they have to have a look at that. Yeah. And if they're wrong, a lot of people don't want to be wrong. So if you don't look at the other evidence or look at any other side of it, then you can always be right. So that could be part of it, but I don't know why people don't. They're so adamant, to believe one way of thinking that they just, it floors me that people can't.
And it is like we're talking about energy channels and meridians and livers and times and all this, and it does sound weird.
It sounds weird.
But as I said, when we get into the literature, the medical literature on it, like there's something in this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, is this all right? Don't know.
Well, again,
maybe,
we're not saying
probably
this is all 100% right. We can only go on what we've seen anecdotally and what we've read in the science, and we've been through, ourselves and that sort of thing. So that's all we can go on, and we're not saying 100%, but we're just presenting the evidence that we know of and what we've seen. And and this is the beauty of life. People can make their own decisions about anything, really.
Exactly.
So we're not trying to convince you of anything. We just put out the information. So
So any more theory you want to go through? Because there's it gets really involved. One thing I remember about TCM is it's incredibly complex.
It is. I mean, I was going to study TCM.
Oh, really?
I was before I did Western, naturopathy and Western herbal medicine. The reason I didn't is because, one, it was extremely expensive at the time, and there's a lot in it. So I would like to go back and study it one day, but who knows? Getting old now.
Amazing stuff. So this energy flows through the meridians, and acupuncture does a few things. It helps the flow of chi energy to restore, let's call it organ health, but other more than just organ health, but other health, and it's quite remarkable how it works. And do you want me to give you one paper that I found with relating to the lungs and that sort of stuff?
Sure.
The first paper that I came across when I was doing this was a what they call a systemic review and meta-analysis, which is the highest level of evidence you can get. It's A1 evidence. This was a paper published in Australia, so not in China. It was published in Australia in the Journal of Clinical Medicine. So that's not a left-leaning, out there, woohoo. This is like as straight as bad as you can get. Now, I'll read the conclusion. And so a meta-analysis is an analysis of many, many studies. And what they found was in these 29 studies, I'll read the conclusion and we can work back from there. Acupuncture may be suitable as an adjunct to usual care and standard antidepressant medication. And it's kind of like, okay, that's good. Were there any trials that compared it against antidepressants? And it's like, yeah, there were, actually. Acupuncture showed clinically significant reductions in the severity of depression compared to the usual care, which is, antidepressants. It's just superior.
Yeah.
And it's like, hang on, what? Like antidepressants, like if all right, you can love them or hate them. I'm not a fan, but it was better than the usual care. And it's like, well, why isn't everyone doing this? And it's a very good question, isn't it? So quite remarkable. Again, meta-analysis published in Australia. Very, very well done study. And the meta-analysis showed that there was absolutely the favoritism, even against the sham acupunctures, which is when you put a sharp needle somewhere near the meridian, but not on the meridian, like a toothpick they use sometimes.
Yeah.
And they use blunted needles just to not go through the skin.
Yes.
And it absolutely was compared to the sham one. So, if you think just sticking needles in your back randomly anywhere will make you feel better, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
So I found that remarkable, and it's quite a fat paper. It goes into its references galore, and that was called Acupuncture for Depression, a Systemic Review and Meta-Analysis, published in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition, published 2019. Lovely paper.
Yeah, and we have the links for all those if you want to get the papers.
Exactly. So if you're thinking like I used to think, which is like, you put a needle in your muscle here, like dry needling, it's different.
Yes.
This is not This is in meridians, which are energy channels, not in muscles.
That's right.
It's not in your head or anything like that.
Yeah.
I've got some more information later on needles in different parts of the body, but I found that remarkable.
It is. So I mean, so how it works is you're clearing the blockages of the meridians. So obviously then the energy can flow again. So if there's blockages, that starts to impact that system and what those that system is, what organs it's connected to.
Yep.
So the whole sort of theory behind it is you're clearing those energetic blockages. So that's why they're putting them in specific areas of the body. It's kind of in a very simplistic way of sort of explaining it.
That's right, yeah.
So acupuncture and acupressure, as I said, stimulates meridian points to clear blockages and restore flow. You can do meridian massages, so massage techniques that target specific meridian.
That's the shiatsu
blockages.
stuff that we did, yeah.
Yeah, meditation and breath work, so that can stimulate that qi.
Yeah.
So there's different ways of doing it. Tai chi and qigong. So use movement and breath work to activate meridians. So there's different ways that
there's studies on those exercises that actually do have physiological effects.
Yeah, they do. There is pretty good studies on all that sort of stuff. So super interesting. So I just wanted to explain what meridians were, so you can get a bit of a concept of how it works. So, and then I thought I would add this little bit in because people are going for energy in the body. What a load of horse poo. So there's a study that people are studying biofields now.
Right.
So there's a lot of really good studies around that. So biofields basically are, let me just go back to the actual description so people don't, I don't have it. I don't
Interesting
have the actual
stuff.
Description. So basically, biofields are different energy fields in the body, and there's some, people that say we have an energy field. I guess some people call aura as well. So we have this energy field, and people roll their eyes and go, oh my God, that's just, but you can measure it. And there are ways to measure it. So electrocardiograms, Steve. So I think if anyone's heard of ECGs.
Yeah.
So they measure the electrical field of the heart.
Yep.
So that's electrical impulses. So I mean, our bodies run on electrical impulses essentially. So
and I think most people understand that there's electrical impulses that now when you have an electrical impulse, just for the people who are playing along at home may not understand, there is a field of physics called electromagnetism.
Yes.
And electricity and magnetism are intimately linked. In fact, we've got lights running and cameras running. That's probably run from electrical magnetism because when you spin a magnet near a coil, it creates a charge.
Yeah.
And if you spin it at 50 hertz, then it comes out at 50 times it alternates current. That's what our power points are, 50 hertz.
Yeah.
So magnetism, if you run a magnet past a cable, it creates an electric current. So the fact that we've got an electric currents create magnetism.
Yes.
So we're not woo-hooing the science here. We're not breaking the internet. This is like we've got electrical pulses, so we've got electromagnetism.
Yeah, we have something called magnetometers, Steve.
Yes.
Magnetometers. So they detect biomagnetic fields.
Yep.
Which are generated by the heart, muscles, brain, nerves. So these are the ECGs.
Yep.
Electroencephalograms, so EEGs. So they measure electric activity of the brain.
Yep. There's a little thing you see, caps and it points over your head. Yep.
Yeah. We have gas discharge visualization. So that takes computerized photographs of the energy around each finger.
Oh, God.
So there's a lot in it. So, and some interesting stuff in this paper.
Okay, so you're referencing a medical paper here.
Yeah, biofield science and healing history terminology and concepts.
Nice.
I don't know when that was published. 2015.
There you go.
So whether you believe that we do or would believe that we don't, there's a lot of evidence to show that we do have this energetic body. And, you can... You know when you meet somebody and sometimes just like, or someone can walk in a room and the whole energy changes. Like, suddenly everyone feels yuck or it feels great, or someone can come in and the energy is quite low and someone comes in and the energy changes. So that's because in theory we have these energetic bodies, and what's in this energetic field is actually felt by other people. So, there is a lot of science around it. It's very fascinating. So, all the pseudoscience people that, maybe expand maybe just look into it a bit more because there's a lot of really cool information, a lot of science.
Yeah,
out
I mean,
there approved.
you know, as I said, we're learning stuff every single day. Now, women, when they get in groups and work together and live together, they cycle together eventually, and sort of like we don't understand the why do you know, and it's kind of like it's what actually all animals do anyway.
Yeah,
and there's a invisible force between them that's changing them. Now, what do you want to do? You want to dive into some science?
Yeah, let's talk about some science. We've talked about it. People probably got people rolling their eyes enough by now.
Yeah, we're getting
writing
a bit,
comments going.
Time to get nerdy. Okay, so this is published in the Journal of American Medical Association. So not exactly the Qigong Wing Hung, you know, magazine of whatever.
2000 BC.
Yeah, and it was published in that JAMA network, and it's the use of acupuncture for adult health conditions, 2013 to 2021, a systemic review. So I love these systemic reviews because I'm just going to show you, and it's not. Look at all those trials.
Wow, there's a lot.
Those trials.
There'd have to be 30 trials there?
30 trials there, and they're very small writing and all that sort of stuff. So basically, one of the thing, you know, a lot of the things they tested for here, and let's pick some of the ones that are tricky to treat. So like fibromyalgia, you go to a doctor and it's like, oh shit. Firstly, are you faking? That's just unfortunately, but acupuncture is more effective than sham acupuncture for pain relief in improving sleep quality and improving general status of fibromyalgia syndrome post-treatment. So this was a paper published in 2019 on fibromyalgia, and it improved pain, fatigue, sleep quality, and the certainty of evidence rating because of was high. So basically now, so that's one of the trials in here. Another one, shoulder pain. Who gets shoulder pain? I do. This shoulder.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, it's just what happens. I can feel it. It's right there. Oh. Why? What happened? Don't know.
Yeah.
Just grew up, got old. Anyway, acupuncture was superior to sham acupuncture in terms of pain relief. So again, they had sham ones and then they put them on the real Meridians and it worked. Again, high quality. Okay, here's another one. What happens, Nick, if you have a stroke?
Well, you lose neurons in your brain. Don't
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
So there's no coming back from that, is there?
Well, I disagree because I've seen it.
No. Okay. So what happens in a stroke is that there's two types of stroke. There's a bleeding stroke. They're bad. And there's a clot. They're both bad. But then there's a clot one, which are the more common ones. And it just starves the bit of the brain and the bit of the brain dies. And what they did was they gave these people what they call electroacupuncture. You know what that is? Where they put a little current through it?
Yes.
Basically, they found that there was better effective electroacupuncture than not. So again, it helps with stroke. Now, also there's some other weird ones here, Nick. What about if you got acute pancreatitis? So let's say you went
acute or acute?
Yeah, you've got acute pancreas. So pancreatitis means inflamed quickly, usually from drinking too much. And they basically found that the acupuncture improved the pain for an acute acupuncture and the blood amylase to return to normal faster compared with routine treatment alone. So they gave it with other treatments and the acupuncture group improved dramatically faster. Why is that?
Well, it's funny because you can't see pain in the body either, can you, Steve?
No.
You can't, but you know it's there. You can feel it.
You can measure amylase, which is an enzyme related from a sick pancreas or any pancreas.
Yeah.
And if it returns from the blood to normal, it shouldn't be in the blood.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can measure that.
Exactly.
You know, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely. So there is actually an amazing person in US, pretty sure.
Yep.
I'm going to say his name wrong. Quifi Ma.
Oh yeah.
And he's done a lot of research. So he's a neuroscientist and he specializes in pain, somatosensory processing, neuroanatomical basis of acupuncture. So he's done a lot of studies, a lot of research into acupuncture. And his research focuses on nociceptors, spinal circuits, and the mechanism of underlying pain and itch perception.
Ooh, because nociceptors are pain receptors.
Yeah, that's right. So you can go on to, he's got a website, I'm pretty sure, but there's papers that he's done. So amazing research that he's done on, pain pathways, the role of spinal cord in pain and itch and all that sort of thing. And then acupuncture in regards to all these sort of things. And he used acupuncture electroacupuncture to drive vagal adrenal axis. So stimulating the vagal nerve and vagal tone, improving vagal tone.
Yep.
And sort of demonstrated how electroacupuncture activates vagus nerve pathways, leading to anti-inflammatory effects. And we've talked about the vagus nerve. It's sort of the wandering nerve. It sort of wraps around a lot of our organs all the way down. So acupuncture can actually activate that pathway as well.
Oh, no, that's important.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I've got a bit of a study on anxiety as well.
That would
acupuncture. So vagal tone comes into there as well. So, but he does some amazing research for pain, pain and all that sort of thing, and the stress response. So look him up. He's actually really interesting.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got another pain study for you here.
Okay.
When your heart is starved of blood, you get a thing called angina.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's like a heart pain, basically. It's referred and it's quite serious and that sort of thing. And believe it or not, they did a study on angina and acupuncture. Mm-hmm. So basically, they found that acupuncture was found to be effective in decreasing anginal attack frequency, diminishing disease-related negative emotions, and increasing the physical performance of the heart.
Wow.
Because they did it on the heart meridian.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
Guess what meridian they did on the pancreas? The pancreas meridian.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So there's something to this.
Yeah.
All right. Now, after you have your heart surgery, okay, you're going to wake up and you're going to be anxious, aren't you?
Probably.
Guess what helps with anxiety?
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture therapy may be able to reduce anxiety in preoperative and postoperative patients. Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? Well, can I give you another quickie that's a little bit for me?
Yep.
Migraines. Headache, it's absolutely been tested quite a fair bit with migraines. Now, what you've got to do is in 2020, they came out with new prophylaxis medications, which are things that reduce the intensity of migraines, like galcanezumab, which is a drug that is an antibody to calcitonin-related peptide. Okay, so it prevents them.
Yeah.
Big costs $900 an injection once a month. Quite expensive stuff. So what they did was they compared that with acupuncture. Guess which one was more effective?
Oh, I'm going to have to say acupuncture.
Because actually, quote, again, 2020 paper, acupuncture is mildly more effective than medication, the prophylaxis for migraine. So it was just slightly better, but acupuncture.
Yeah.
And tension headaches, basically reduction of headache frequency are much higher in the groups. And another headache in 2016, acupuncture was associated with a moderate reduction in headache frequency over no acupuncture or art treatment. So there's 3 migraine ones in this particular review paper in JAMA.
Yeah, wow.
So what do you got for me, Nick?
I'm just trying to find it, but I can't find it. I mustn't have added it in there.
Oh, well, I've got a few more to go through.
Yeah. No, well, it's just all about anxiety and how it works on the autonomic nervous system. Sort of, and we talk about the vagus nerve and all of that sort of thing. So there's something called heart rate variability, which we've talked about probably before, and that's a measure of the body. Basically, the body's level of stress and ability to cope with stress and that sort of thing. So, a higher heart rate variability is associated with better health.
Yep.
Better mental health, low levels of anxiety, all that sort of stuff. So, acupuncture has also been shown to improve the body's ability to cope with stress through improving your heart rate variability.
Yeah.
So, so that I thought that was really interesting. It's also acupuncture also shown to increase the release of endorphins. So they help to regulate emotional stress and physical stress.
So endorphins also reduce pain.
Yeah, exactly. So reduce pain, and then also it's been shown to regulate heart rate, obviously heart rate variability, blood pressure, and digestive function. Now, I don't know if you've got any studies on how it goes for digestion, but there's quite a lot out there as well for different digestive dysfunction.
I haven't got one
IBS and that sort of thing.
I've got one on IBS. There was one here before. Inflammatory bowel disease.
Yeah, IBD.
Basically, the drug of choice for for IBD or inflammatory bowel disease is sulfasalazine, which is a drug that knocks out folate, but don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And it's good for inflammation. And what they did in 2020 was Wang gave a trial where they gave them either sulfasalazine or metronidazole, which is another drug, and sulfasalazine, and they found that, quote, acupuncture may be effective in treating ulcerative colitis compared to the conventional therapies. So it actually was better than those drugs.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Again, what are the side effects of acupuncture? No, there's not many. No, yeah, it's kind of like people just feel better. And so because inflammatory bowel disease in this case was in the colon, they put them on the colon meridian. See, this is the thing about natural medicine is, if you've got, let's say you've got a pain disease, okay, you just want to get rid of pain, okay? Medicine is opioids or painkillers.
Yeah.
And then whatever the pain is, it'll get rid of it. You know what I mean? This is like we're going to stick needles in different parts which have different areas for different parts of the body. It's more specific.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I love that.
Yeah.
So, there's some, as I said, there's so many studies in this review from JAMA. I mean, I just can't, it's just amazing. There's some really cool ones. Well, the other one I found, speaking of pain, there's a post-operative pain one here where after you have arthroplasty of the knee, so you have a knee operation basically. Now, after that, you typically have opioids. That's what Dr. Doug does mainly. He assists in, replacing knees and all that crap. Okay, crap. No, it's important. So you have your knee replaced. If you have acupuncture, it's associated with, quote, a reduced and delayed opioid consumption.
Wow.
So, you still need opioids, but it's less.
If you can have less of them, obviously that's going to be better on the gut. It's going to be better on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about post-operative nausea? It reduces that as well. Again, another study.
Yeah.
And these are all peer-reviewed papers published, and I'm reading them out. I've told the article in JAMA. I mean, JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association.
It's pretty prestigious.
Pretty prestigious.
Journal. Yeah.
I've got a few more, but what have you got for me? Anything, or do you want me to?
That's me, Steve. Yeah.
Oh, this is the pistol resistant. This is my favourite paper I found. Now, probably this one was the important one. Look, it just summarises all of them. I mean, so there's many in that paper. It's not just one study. It's a systemic review. But this one was my favourite. Okay, let's say, you've got cancer. Okay. Energy flow throughout the body is vitally important for health and longevity and all that sort of stuff. But what they're using here is the meridian energy analysis, where you analyse the resistance and all that sort of thing. You can measure it. If there's more resistance in there, the more unhealthy you are. Okay, this is what acupuncture. So by releasing that energy, you get more energy throughout the body, and you get more healing energy of chi and all that. And what they're using it for now, and this is a paper published in the Journal of Traditional and Complementary Medicine 2023, is they're basically predicting when people are going to die of cancer by how much energy is flowing through their meridians.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's actually really.
That's a really cool study, isn't it?
Really cool
I mean, it's morbid and all that sort of stuff, but yeah. And then the title of the paper is called Meridian Energy Analysis May Predict the Prognosis of Patients with Advanced Cancers Receiving Palliative Care.
Wow.
So if your energy levels are basically clocked, not flowing, you are going to die sooner.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Look at it. It's the actual title.
Yeah.
And it's like, and so I found that remarkable that, because I've got terminal cancer. How long are you going to live? Well, let's just measure your meridians. And if they're below or less than 8.8 microamps, which is an amp is a measure of current. So if you're below that, then you're in big trouble. So you can assess that. Isn't that remarkable?
It is.
Yeah.
And you know what I see? This is what I see in the future. Maybe I don't know how many years away we're talking, but medicine, maybe not orthodox medicine, but more alternative medicine.
Yep.
Things are going to change about the way we treat. And, this is what I see as a possibility.
Yeah.
Working more on less invasive sort of interventions and working more on energy centres and things like that will become a lot more mainstream if, the science and everything keeps evolving. It's like so many other things, like 200 years ago, there's no way the things that we're doing now, they would have just gone, you're crazy pseudoscience, like that will never happen. It's not possible. That doesn't happen in the body. So I feel like the evolution of this will continue to become bigger and bigger. So it's really interesting. And I will say that we're not saying replace, orthodox medicine with acupuncture. That's not what we're saying.
No, that's right.
Or whatever you're using, but it's a good adjunct. So so it's not going to replace. It may don't stop everything you're doing if you're taking medical care and that sort of thing, but use it as an adjunct and see if it helps at all. Some people use it as a standalone. Some people, it's used along with holistic medicine. Some people use it along with orthodox medicine, but it can be something as a really great add-on. And what have you got to lose? It's non-invasive. You get a few needles, but really it doesn't really hurt. There's no side effects.
Yeah.
So. And there's a lot of really good studies. And if you perhaps are struggling with pain and, orthodox medicine's not helping, what's the harm in trying to see if it does?
Look, you can take it with things and all. You can take it with medications because there's very little interaction.
There's no contraindications.
I've got a little graph of that study there. I'll just show it to you, Nick. There on the corner there, the bottom there. You see that one by middle fingers. Basically, what they measured was if your current is greater. If your meridian levels are healthy, like they termed healthy is above 8.8, then at 30 days, if you've got terminal cancer, you'll be 50% chance of survival. But if it's lower than that, like below it, then you've got a 9.4% chance of survival.
Wow, okay.
So this is a very powerful predictor. So all this chi and energy funnels, it's like you can measure it now, and if it's bad, and you've got cancer, it's associated with poorer health.
Yeah.
So, I love the data. And even if you don't believe in chi or you don't believe in wooden elements and 5-element theory and 12 meridians and that, there's something in this.
There is something in it.
There's something that this is working.
Yeah. There's so much evidence now you can't really ignore it. I mean, you can't ignore it. You can still say pseudoscience and whatever. It's fine. Don't believe it. It's no big deal. But there is a lot of evidence out there to show that it can be really beneficial. And, energy centers in the body I believe is a thing. I've seen a lot of that sort of stuff. So it's a really fascinating area. I love it because, I love to explore the things that we can't see.
But Nick, this is really interesting. I think we've got to do more of these sort of podcasts where they're a bit edgy.
Well, they sort of push the boundaries of what people sort of believe. And like I said, you will always get people who say it's pseudoscience, it's a load of hoo-hoo, which is fine. That doesn't bother us, whatever you want to think, whatever you want to think. But there are a lot of people out there that do believe in this sort of thing. And there's a lot of evidence to show that it can be a really amazing tool for different health conditions.
Well, if you think it's all rubbish, you're going to have to think that the Journal of Clinical Nutrition and the Journal of the American Medical Association are rubbish as well. I mean, that's where the evidence is posted. That's where you post the evidence of drugs.
Yeah.
And they work. There's some drugs that work things, and there's natural herbs. So this is just part of the evidence. What you can't say now is there's no evidence for this.
Yeah, that's right.
If you say that, you're ignorant.
Yeah.
If you say I don't believe the evidence, that's fine. It's up to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you can't say there's none.
No.
So really interesting, Nick. But this has been great. I've got to do more of these.
Yeah, a little bit one of left of centre than what we usually do. But
bit weird.
It's very interesting information.
Right.
So
that's about all we've got time for this week. We'll see you next week, Nick.
See you guys.
See ya.